What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the UGAsports.com postgame overreaction show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry, riding a bull season in Lexington, Kentucky. So we've got the next best thing on UGA Sports staff. That's Jason Butt. You see his face every morning for the daily recap. So why not after a hard-fought win for the Dogs, 16-6 over Kentucky, Jason? And man, it was a struggle. It was a struggle bus. I think I'm even struggling. No, I got the link in the chat. So yeah, guys, if you're new, what we like to do is shout you guys out. So let us know where you're watching from. We'll put it up on the screen. If you're joining with us for, your 10th consecutive time, you already know what to do, guys. The link is in the description. You can click that link. It'll put you into our waiting room. We'll bring you onto the show. We've got a lot to discuss, a lot to overreact to. Struggle bus Saturday for sure. And it looks like right now Ohio State is still struggling with Maryland. 33-30 with 3 minutes left. We'll watch that as we go along with you guys. Jason, let's get your initial thoughts as I tweet this thing out.
Yeah, the offense had its worst game of the season. Before it was, the Missouri game. But credit Kentucky. Kentucky does this almost every year. Last year seemed to be the only year where there was where Georgia was able to kind of be comfortable. And even then it didn't feel comfortable per se. But it's just for whatever reason, Mark Stoops kind of has this Kirby team. I don't want to say figured out. He just has a good idea of how to play this team. And then on top of that, I feel like Kirby could sometimes get a little conservative for good reason against Kentucky, as he has since he's been the head coach. And you kind of saw that down in the fourth quarter, especially. It's funny because I'm sitting there watching. It's 16-0. They're at the 1 yard line. They're trying to put them away. You're going from a potential cover to suddenly being in a position where you think Georgia might, have a chance to lose the game. It's just that the flip in that moment was insane and absurd. But at the end of the day, the better team won. But I credit Kentucky more than I fault Georgia. I mean, Georgia did not play a good game by any means, but that's just the way these games, for whatever reason, go.
Yeah, I mean, it was ugly. I'm glad that it ended fast, though. I did call that. I said Georgia would like to get out of Lexington, with the quickness, because so cold. I had a buddy up there. He said it felt like a glacier. He was sitting in the top seats. Let's get some of these comments in real quick. Dennis Montgomery from LaGrange, Georgia says, win in advance. You're right. Bill Burnett, Lexington, Kentucky, go Dogs.
Tennessee, Lexington.
Yeah, you're right. Tennessee. My bad, Bill. Lexington, Kentucky's where the game was. Indy Clip says, struggle win Saturday. You're right, man. Let's see here. Andrew says, go Dogs from Central Iowa. Our run game looked good at times. Munkin and Cruz shut down the passing game after those passes sailed. Not worth the risk. We'll get to that. Because Will Levis's pass did not sail. So what's going on there? ATB says hard-fought win in an away game with cold and windy conditions. We did not fire on all cylinders today for sure. Missy Emery over on Facebook, appreciate you watching. Struggle, but great victory. John Lavender looked blah, and ATB says Stoops is a good coach, no doubt. Matthew Cotton, our man over on the other side of the pond, said it was ugly. Alvaro Pinero says, a win is a win. Move on. Exclamation points. Alvaro, you are new to the POS. We overreact, my friend. Lasers over here. What's up, man? He says, go Dogs from Cookeville, Tennessee. Yeah, man. Player of the game for sure, by far, bar none. I think we can go ahead and agree on this. Kenny McIntosh. Finally, they got him into a groove. Look good doing it. So Dogs on the ground, 46 attempts, Jason, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, led for 5.4 yards average carry. A lot better than last week. Looked just more consistent. The holes look good, but the passing game looks a little different, and wasn't what we've been accustomed to seeing from Stetson, especially kind of leading up to this game. Everybody was talking about Stetson being a sleeper for the Heisman. What does this do to that as well?
Kills it. He's done. And I hate it because I was really rooting for the guy to have that chance. But at the end of the day, this team is 11-0. They're going to beat the crap out of Georgia Tech next week, and they'll be 12-0. That puts them in the playoff. I mean, I say that, but yeah, you got to play the game. But a win next week puts them in the playoff no matter what. So regardless if LSU wins or not, they've proven to be one of the top 4 teams. So I think Stetson Bennett takes that over the Heisman any day of the week, a chance to go win a back-to-back national title. But 116 yards. I mean, you know, the Florida game, we were nitpicking him, and because he was 50%, he still threw for 300 and 2 touchdowns. But to only go 116 on 19 attempts with an interception, and the interception was a pretty bad one too. So I hate it for him, but his Heisman days are numbered, and I don't see him getting an invite to New York now.
Yeah, after this game, 116 yards to the air. And like people said, it was a windy conditions today. You saw it. I want to get your take on this. I also want to get everybody to join up on the show too, guys. So if you're new, the link's in the description. If you're Anthony or Eddie from Ackworth or any of those guys, Andy Stowe, you already know what to do. Click that link. We want to get your guys' thoughts. This show goes as far as you guys let it. So we like to get interactions between you guys. And if you don't feel comfortable on camera, you can come in with just your microphone. And if you don't feel comfortable with just your microphone, you can always do it in the comments, and we'll read those and put them up here too. So, but just kind of an ugly win. That wind, the Stetson interception. What was your take on that Stetson interception, Jason?
It was a bad one. I think the commentating, Gary Danielson, I think nailed it. I mean, it was a late throw. He thought he could get the post, but Loud McConkey's like, there's a safety there, so there's no reason to turn it inside. And I think it from my from that standpoint, from my unintelligent point of view, I think he forced it. And based on the conversation on the sideline when they cut to him and Kirby, I'm sure that just seemed to be what he was saying. Like, yeah, I put it there. I shouldn't have. It was a dumb throw. I put that on the quarterback more than the receiver. Can't do that there. And fortunately for Georgia, their defense is all world. And what's crazy is they gave up the 99-yard touchdown drive. They gave up a drive where they almost got 3 points that would have cut it to a one-score game. Yet those things really didn't matter. And because even with the struggles in the fourth quarter, it was only 6 points. And talk about a spectacular defensive performance. When the offense plays its worst game of the year, they're still able to win by 10 points. And you got to credit the defense for putting this team in that position.
Yeah, Seth Brantley kind of wraps it up here for us. He says an ugly win, but a win just the same. It's still hard to get used to seeing the Dogs so dominant that we all get upset after wins. Even when we don't look great, we're never really in any danger. It was close to being dangerous had they kicked that field goal, I think, because the second half offense, man, and I don't know, we've talked about this all year long, just for whatever reason, doesn't work. Like they slow down, they get conservative, and we saw it at the 1 yard line. They couldn't get the ball in. We saw it with the QB sneak trying to get it on the 4th and 1, couldn't get it. Just numerous attempts with this heavy bunch formation type deal. They had Brock in there on the 4th and 1. They had Jalen Carter in on the goal line at up back. None of it seems to be working. What does seem to work, though, is rolling out Darnell Washington and getting him out in front of Stetson Bennett and letting Stetson Bennett either decide, hey, am I going to pass it to Darnell or am I going to run behind Darnell? That play works almost every time, and we only see it once or twice. I mean, today, does Darnell Washington show up in the stat sheet in terms of receptions, Jason? The answer to that's no. 0 receptions for Big O. The team leader in receptions, Ladd McConkey, had 3 for 28 yards. Don Blaylock had 2 for 38 yards, with one of those being a 35-yard play that was almost taken to the house had it been anybody other than a outside linebacker playing on that. I'm sure Monken was up in the booth not happy about that. So, it's a whole lot of just kind of crazy stuff going on right now. But here at the end of the day, Jason, we're 10 minutes into the show. The Dogs are on their way to another undefeated season. They're undefeated in the SEC. You can be upset about this. You can look at it and say, hey, can they beat a team like Ohio State? Can they beat a Michigan? Can they beat a TCU, which we'll get to those teams later. But Kentucky just lost to Vanderbilt. And this wasn't supposed to be a game. This is a 22.5 point spread. Georgia won by 10. And had Will Levis had any more type of, completion percentage, able to put his ball on the target at all, this might have been a different game.
Sure. And I think that's Georgia's defense playing the way it did, combined with Kentucky's offense having one player over there. Looks like Ohio State just put this game away. But just want to caught that in the corner of my eye. But yeah, if Kentucky had any semblance of an offensive line and any other receivers, their running back Rodriguez is pretty good, I think. But other than they just don't have anybody to be explosive against and to make plays against good and better defenses. And so had they, I mean, gosh, the fourth quarter was just completely different. You're looking at this game going, when's Georgia going to break away? When's Georgia going to break away? I mean, the defense shut Kentucky down. Will Levis didn't look like a top 3-round pick for 3 quarters. Yep. And then you started seeing him make some of those throws that have you saying that he's that guy, that have these analysts saying, yeah, he's a top 3, top 2 quarterback coming out. But they just don't have enough weapons. They don't have a line that can really consistently get them into that position. So all that said, I'm just kind of went off on a tangent there, but to really answer your point about this team playing a game that was not ideal. I wonder if last year's season has kind of skewed expectations. They went through every game last year and had no issues whatsoever, and then the Alabama game happens, and but of course it's Alabama, and Alabama and Georgia were as even as it gets last year. Given they split games, of course Georgia was able to beat the winner in the more important game, but most teams in most seasons have games like this against teams that aren't as good, especially on the road. Yeah. Georgia's had 2 of them this year, which honestly, that's par for the course. That's normal. In most championship seasons, if you go back, even Alabama's had this happen to them occasionally. You don't blow out every team. That just doesn't typically happen. That's why last year's season was so remarkable from that standpoint. And so I think there's a difference between criticism and being like, wow, this offense did not play well. This is the worst offensive performance of the season, and being angry. I don't get the anger. I think if you are 11-0 at this point and you're in position to be 1 win away from a college football playoff, regardless of what happens in the SEC championship, you're absolutely ecstatic right now. You beat Tech, you're in the playoff, hands down. There's no other scenario where Georgia suddenly doesn't get in, even if they lose the SEC championship. So
Trevor brings up a good point here, Jason. He says, do you think Kentucky plays Vandy the way they play Georgia? And I don't.
No.
I think now, it's the same way as every team gives Alabama its best shot. Georgia's getting everybody's best shot. Everybody's riled up for this game. It was a 3:30 CBS kickoff for Kentucky at home. This is probably their biggest game of the year, I would imagine. Yeah, it has to be.
Well, it would save their season.
Sure.
Kentucky was supposed to be a 9-10 win team with a 1-2 game chance to upset and unseat Georgia as the East champion, and they came into this game 6-4. This was their Super Bowl. So that's not to say Georgia. I mean, I thought Georgia's defense was clearly up for this game. I thought Kentucky on defense did more. I was more impressed with them. It just didn't seem like. And the reason I think Stetson ended up throwing that interception was he could not find anything open deep all game. They did a great job in the back end of preventing anybody from getting behind and allowing open receivers. And so I credit,
which is something we'll touch on too, because that might lead to something different later on in the season. I see Corey Satterfield. Corey, what's going on? Corey's got Kenny Mack in the background there. Got a little green screen going on. Kenny's got the book bag on, carrying the whole team. I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I love it, man. I love it. What's going on, Corey?
I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty sure this weekend's probably been the most craziest college football weekend I think I've ever had in my life.
It's been maybe there haven't been that many upsets. There's been close games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They've all been close games. All the underdogs have been going crazy this weekend. TCU and Baylor, that was a crazy game. And then you had Ohio State and Maryland right now, and then you got Michigan and Illinois. This whole weekend, Georgia's been relying on the top 4 teams to keep winning just to make Tennessee not go back into the playoffs, I feel like.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to – something's going to happen with Ohio State and Michigan. And I think Michigan's Blake Corum's running back. I don't know what's going on with him. But in terms of this Georgia game, Corey, 2 takeaways from you. What 2 takeaways you have?
I feel like our offensive line is probably one of, if not the most inconsistent, I think, of all college football. They have a couple plays where they'll block it tremendously, and then like when it gets to like short yardage situations, they don't block really that greatly. Our defense looked a little sluggish today, a little bit. Like our secondary kind of started off slow in the like first quarter, going to the second. The Keeley had that big pick, and after that they started looking more sluggish. So I don't know.
Yeah, defense for me. You gave up less than 300 yards to Kentucky, 295 yards, 206 through the air, only 89 on the ground. Like Jason was saying earlier, Chris Rodriguez is a really good running back.
Yeah.
Averaged 3 yards a carry, so 17 attempts, 51 yards. But this isn't the game I don't think any of us were expecting, Corey, in terms of, Vegas. Once again, I've said this all year long. I'll say it again. Vegas was completely wrong about the spread on Georgia, one way or the other.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
What?
It was about to be 23 or 24 or 22, 23 or 24, nothing. And then they don't get the touchdown, and then the comeback happens. They were right for 3+ quarters, and then the game flipped.
What?
And the under was on the money. Like seeing 22.5 as a spread, and then 49, which went down to 47 as an under, was totally right about Kentucky not being able to score.
Yeah.
Georgia just did it to themselves there, and the game flipped. So I think it was actually a good line that Georgia just kind of fell apart late, and that's why they weren't able to cover.
Yeah. I feel like we played too conservative this game as well. But
I
don't
think
know.
that's fair. That's a good
I don't
point.
know if that's because of the weather or what, but we definitely ran the ball a lot.
I would like to see if this game was, 70 degrees outside or in a dome type environment, would the game plan have changed? I think it would have, because Stetson only threw the ball 19 times. Georgia ran it, I think, 46, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 46 rushes versus 19 pass. And for me, this game, just in terms of drives alone, I mean, Georgia had one drive in the first quarter, only two. They had 3 drives in the whole first half. I tweeted that out. I was like, I don't know if I've seen this. 3 drives in the first half. They had 9 total drives. That doesn't seem like a lot, and they scored, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of their first 5 times, with Stetson's interception being the lone one they didn't score on. And then it went downs, punt, game over. So, I don't know, Corey. How do you feel looking at these other teams around the league, kind of struggling today, especially the top teams? You still feel good about Georgia and all this, everything moving forward?
I feel better if, like I said earlier about the weather, if it was different. I feel extremely better. Like, let's see, the SEC Championship, for example, is going to be played in a dome. That's going to be a good game. And now next week we're going to hopefully blow out Georgia Tech. So, I don't know.
Have you put out a spread for that yet, Jason?
No, I imagine tomorrow night or Monday you'll start to see a line on that. But I imagine it's going to be over 30.
I was right on the money on this one, just so you know. If you go back to last week's POS, I said 23, came out 22.5. Just saying. Yeah. So
then you should.
I will.
What's your suggestion for this now?
I want to see how Tech plays against Carolina, and I'll do it closer to the end of the show, because right now Tech's only down 10 to North Carolina. So
right, I just put that game on.
Let me see how that game plays out.
Are y'all watching the Tennessee game at all, or no?
I don't get to watch it because my internet's not that great. So I just watch the ESPN college football scoreboard. So I get to see the scores.
So it's like NFL Red Zone kind of thing?
Not even, bro.
Really?
It's just it's basic over here. I just get to see that. Taint Roll, that's a heck of a name, says UGA got outplayed, outcompeted, outclassed, and outcoached. He says, changed my mind.
Well, I don't
change his mind, Corey.
I wouldn't say outcoached. I mean, there were certain situations where Kirby should have kicked the field goal, like when they were down at the goal line, but I wouldn't say outcoached, because Stoops still has never beaten Georgia. He's still 0-10 against Georgia. No, 0-11, sorry. So I wouldn't say outcoached, but outplayed. We still look at the stats. We still pretty much destroyed him on that board too. So
yeah,
it just came out of execution. Is my thing.
I like this one, Jason. Southwest Georgia says, how do you evaluate Big Ten play where weather is always cold up there? That is an excuse.
I mean, I think really only wind is a factor. Like cold is not a factor. I mean, football was what football the first college football game was what Princeton and Rutgers. You know, that's cold.
Might have been. I don't know.
I don't know. I actually don't know when it was, but I mean that's a cold part of the country.
Yeah.
That's you look at other places. You know, in the NFL, you have Green Bay plays outside. Chicago plays outside. I mean, it's really only wind and rain, heavy rain that like makes the game a factor. I mean, cold doesn't. I mean, and football players play in short sleeves in the cold. So
But it also is a factor when you play in the South, like the Southeastern Conference. You're not used to the cold weather, whereas the Big Ten, you're also playing like the cold weather, like it's every day. So
right, and also you get into the playoffs or even in bowl season, you don't have a cold. You know, it's like at that time of the year, you're not playing in the cold anyway because you're either in a dome or you're in the South.
Here's Hamwich says, how many times do we run up the middle into a pack box and not move Stet to the outside on a rollout? I don't know, 10, 12?
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
To go to Corey's point earlier about being conservative, it seems like you go back to the last few years really with Kirby anyway against Kentucky, and it seems like he's more conservative against Kentucky. It's kind of like Kentucky has this game plan where they want to air out the clock and they want to limit possessions.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, I don't know if that concerns him or what, but he is so afraid of making a mistake against this team and allowing them to capitalize. And I just think that you saw a little bit of that today, and I'm sure the wind was a factor. And then Stetson not hitting some of those throws early. The one to Darnell Washington that should have been a touchdown. It's almost like once they thought that okay, it's not going to be that kind of game. I also think that the fact that was really the only play you saw him where he had an open deep receiver. It makes you wonder if Kentucky was playing back and trying to keep everything in front, that they just were saying, okay, fine, we're going to take what we can get, and that probably had a lot to do with it too. I mean, we don't get to see the all 22, as the game's going. And by no means am I going to say I'm some sort of film expert like, Brent Rollins or anything like that. But I would imagine those things go into consideration with your in-game adjustments and why you ended up seeing them kind of play more conservative as the game went on. But that said, when it was a really poor red zone performance. And I think a lot of it had to do with not being a little more creative down there, not giving Stetson the run pass option down there, not doing the play action to the tight end that you've seen this season, all year really, this season down in that area. So, it gets tight by the goal line, everybody comes up, and it's like, okay, you're not going to have the same kind of push that you did when the safeties are playing back and the box isn't as light when you're, at midfield or in your own territory. So I'm with y'all on that. They should have probably had a bit more creativity down in the red zone, especially in those goal-to-go situations.
Yeah, that's what Percy Johnson says. He says weather had no impact on how bad the offense was today. There was no creativity on offense. I like this comment right here, Corey. Alvaro Pinheiro says Georgia decided to put the game in the fridge a little too soon. Perfect. I think that's exactly what happened. They got up and then put the game in the fridge. You could have, with those three short field goals, you could have had 3 touchdowns there, 21-0. Yeah. Then you put the game in the fridge. Not so much, like Alvaro said. I think it was just a little too soon, and the play calling. Man, when this offense gets rolling, when this offense starts moving, it looks so good. It looks really good with the screen plays. You got Darnell and Brock out blocking, or you're hitting Brock over the middle. Things like that. Kenny Mack hitting it for a 10-yard run. But when this offense stalls out, it looks like a completely different, team out there. And to Corey's point, when he first joined on the show, he said the offensive line's so inconsistent. I think that might have something to do with it, because when this team gets rolling, and maybe the offensive line knows, hey, we're going fast tempo right here. We're moving the ball, quick rate. All right, we're going to, put these guys in their ass. Then they see, oh, we're running the ball at the middle 3 times in a row. All right, well, let's just go out here. Let's get this over with. They want to run clock. They don't trust us to move the ball. I don't know, something like that. I'm trying to put myself maybe in their shoes, because they're good offensive linemen, but the difference between drives is, like Corey said, just so inconsistent sometimes.
Yeah. Is it just me, or does Dejon Edwards kind of remind me a little bit of Elijah Holyfield running the ball?
Oh, he does. I think so, a little bit, yeah. He's
Like
not as
like a young Elijah, like his stature and everything. The way he runs the ball.
he's not as bounce offish, if
Yeah.
you will. That's a way.
I guess he doesn't like look the. I mean, it's funny because you hear about him and he's like, what, pound for pound supposed to be one of the stronger guys on the team, but I just remember Elijah Holyfield's upper body being just so jacked, and I guess you don't really see that from Dejan Edwards, but at the same time, you hear that his squat numbers are really impressive, and so and that's really more important when it comes to being a running back is that lower half.
Yep. This right here, Slump CB says, "Why would you not send Washington outside red zone and throw a jump ball?" Slump, they had him out there, bro.
Dude, I was screaming at the TV on that play.
What they should have done is gave it to Jalen Carter, make him do the jump ball for him. That would have been funny.
You know what play we're talking about here, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put – so if you guys missed it, they put Darnell up on the top of the screen by himself, one-on-one coverage. The DB looked to be maybe 8 inches shorter than him. And Stetson didn't even look his way. He threw it instead to Ladd over in the corner for like a corner post or something. And it's just – oh, man. That was tough to watch because Darnell could have grabbed it over him, grabbed it on top. I mean, wherever you wanted to throw Darnell that ball, he was going to catch it.
They weren't rolling a safety either. You're sitting there going, okay, that's your matchup. Like, throw it up. You have the matchup. You wanted. That's my one criticism all year, like that has stayed consistent all year, is they don't. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think they use him in the passing game the way they should. It boggles my mind that he's had 2 games where I think he's had more than 4 catches. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Maybe.
I don't know. I know he's had some drops, but he's a guy that I think if you can get more and more comfortable as the game goes on, man. I just think he's such a matchup nightmare for these guys. But hey, that's just a nitpicky criticism. They're 11-0, so
yeah.
Hey,
they're clearly doing enough right.
Yeah.
Corey, I've got my man Eddie in the waiting room. So before I let you go, 2 game balls as always. Who you giving them to?
Let's see here. I'm gonna have to go to Kitty. I gotta go to the guy in the back.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
obviously, no Brader. But I was thinking about my second one. My second one, I probably have to give it to Hot Pod.
Okay.
He was 4 for 4 field goals today, wasn't he?
3 for 3.
3 for 3. Sorry, but yeah. Also have a joke for y'all. What does Mark Stoops do when he beats Georgia?
What does Mark Stoops do when he what?
Beats Georgia.
Nothing.
He turns the Xbox off and go to bed.
Damn. That's cold-blooded. That's
good. That's good.
All right, boys. I'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good one.
Good. Yeah, man.
Take care, Corey.
Corey's a good one, man. He's fun. He's up and coming kid, man. I think he'd actually do really well in this business if he tried.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see here. Before I get you on here, Eddie, Matthew Cotton over across the pond said, "Did we play any of the recent injured players in this game? I can't watch the game out here. Seems like we're just not meshing." Well, if you consider Jalen Carter recently injured, he played, but he's been playing. Other than that, I can't think of anybody. AD was not. Well, we won't even talk about that. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Football anymore? I don't know.
I think it's one of those things. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think when you increasingly avoid the question, it kind of man. As a coach, I mean, come on, read between the lines, right?
Michael Fowler says, "Wait, it's legal to throw to a tight end in the end zone?" It is, Michael. It's crazy.
It makes you wonder. So we're not seeing it. We don't get to see practice like all the way through. I mean, but he's playing a lot. He's consistently playing more and more. But then you have the matchup. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that situation.
Blanton Lingold says, "Been listening to the podcast, first time catching on live." That's a hell of a name, brother. 10 out of 10. Blanton Lingold. And another hell of a name. Eddie from Ackworth. Eddie, what's going on, man?
How are you guys tonight?
What's up, Eddie?
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, Eddie. 16-6, man. What's your take?
So my initial take is when the Georgia Bulldogs repeat as national champions, I'm not going to be very happy because I'm going to look back on this Kentucky game and go, we didn't play very well. So it just wasn't a very good year, guys. We didn't play well against Kentucky.
Oh, see, so I see. What
I love the shade. I love the shade.
See, I see what stage of grief you're in right now, Eddie. I understand.
This was all right, Paul. This was a total vanilla hand the ball up. I mean, it was from the start. Kirby said, I thought we were going to win the game 16-13. That's what I thought, the way the game was going. And fine, whatever. Kirby doesn't care. He understands what's going on. He's going to hand the ball. Kenny McIntosh was a stud tonight. I mean, that guy was a beast running the ball, okay? And that's all you did. You just fed that guy. And it was boring. It was plotting. It looked like, no offense, it looked like a Vince Dooley game. I mean, it was just bleh. But who cares? At this point, who cares? Right?
I see where you're at when you're in your grief cycle, Eddie. I understand, Eddie. I get you. You're at that point of the who cares? We won the game. Let's not overreact. I get it, Eddie. I know where you're going, but you're eventually, like tomorrow morning, you're gonna come to where you're gonna want to overreact a little bit more. I know. I can tell. Yeah, you are. We welcome on Dane Young, who was over at the Donnan household. Dane, I'm gonna be honest. I was going to tune into you guys. Then my brother-in-law came over, and you're muted, by the way. But I was going to tune into you guys. He brought over Wingstop.
Ooh.
I ate Wingstop instead.
What kind of wings? What was the choice?
I do Cajun wings and then Cajun fries with 2 extra ranches from Wingstop. It's my go-to.
Well done.
Yeah, it's by far the best. When I opened,
blue cheese or ranch?
Oh, ranch! Stop that.
Who gets blue cheese?
Blue cheese. You got to get those.
Oh, God.
Come on.
Eddie, I love your taste in bourbon, but not wing condiments.
No. Come on.
So for me, Dane, I was not able to watch the
obviously not because of your own decisions. It's all your brother-in-law.
Yeah. I would have watched if I didn't have company.
Uh-huh.
William Carlin says 4 tough games in a row took its toll. Give this team props for coming through. Shout out to William Carlin. He was actually my, what do you call it when you get married? The guy that does your wedding?
Officiant.
Thank you. He was my officiant. He's my best friend's dad. So
I was an officiant in a wedding in Colorado earlier this year.
Yeah, he got it from Life University.
Nice.
There's an online dialogue box you can enter your email address and then you're an officiant. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's how we did it. Yeah. So,
Pastor Dane, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what we call him, Pastor Willie now. But yeah, Dane, I tried to spit this out for the last 2.5 minutes. Damn it! How did Jim Donovan?
But that's my fault because I keep getting you off course, and I really enjoy doing it.
It is. Well, how did Coach Donovan feel about the game?
So I actually think it's a bit of a different turn because I hear what Eddie's saying here. In my opinion, this game against Kentucky is what I thought was going to happen last week in Starkville. And Georgia really came out of the other side on that, and they did it with dynamic passing game. The difference is what Mississippi State tries to do, which is a lot faster, a little flashy, but it's still like protect the ball just in a different way, right? Kentucky's like, let's get this clock out of here. Like if Kentucky could have played 2 possessions this game and called it a day, they would have done it. And
they tried.
Well, yeah, they definitely tried to. I think Coach Donnan was more along the lines of the running game is working, and that's kind of what they're giving up. And why is Kenny McIntosh not running this play? Because he's getting 9 yards a carry based on his average. Even well into the third quarter, he was getting like 9 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So when they got down to the red zone and here's Kendall Milton, it's like, why? That was kind of the reaction from there. Overall, this was, and I think this is probably what Eddie's getting at. And you're wrong, Paul, in the sense that Eddie is going to come into another stage of grief because it's Georgia Tech week. So if anything, he's just going to get cockier by the time he's talking to Logan Booker and Bill Shanks as the week goes on. That's
South Carolina's up 14-7, y'all.
Yep.
Eddie, I just heard Dane say when you talk to Logan Booker and Dane Young, do you cheat on us here at the show?
I said Bill Shanks.
Yeah. You do.
Well, to be fair, Paul, I was on board with them before I was on board with you. So
if anything,
I'll take
he's
that.
cheating on them with us.
I was going to say so.
There you go. Exactly right, Dane.
I like that. I like that. I like it much better that way, Eddie. Thank you so much.
Eddie publicly praises Film Don't Lie to anyone he talks to, so Eddie's like an angel in my book.
Oh man, Film Don't Lie is the best.
Eddie's good people, man.
So you'll enjoy this then, Eddie. We've been texting me and Brent Rollins like, what the heck is our play of the game from this? Because like, if you had to pick one play that was like, oh, that was the best play of this game. McIntosh touchdown. That's probably what it's going to end up being. But
Yeah,
like, I
that's what
can't
was
point to
gonna say.
one thing.
Yeah.
Missed field goal.
I
How
mean,
about
that's
the
what
Keely
CBS
pick?
chose.
Keely-
If the play
Ringo-
of the game is a bobbled snap,
Yeah.
hold, like
No, how about the Keely Ringo pick?
Yeah, no, that's actually probably it because Kentucky was putting together a nice little drive there.
Yes.
I guess my only thing is,
Yeah,
like,
I'm
if
with
I
you,
have
Eddie.
the play of the game, I don't want it to be a primarily Kentucky mistake, and that was just an awful pass from Levis. Like, it was a bad decision to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he forced it.
Derek Walker, I want to give this shout out. He said, I agree with Eddie. Dogs got the win. Let's get back to Athens and plan for Tech the SEC title game. So maybe you got people in your corner. I don't know. Indy Clip says he's not on Dog Nation yet, is he? Eddie, I'm telling you right now, bud. Eddie, you might get blocked out here, bud.
Be careful with your words, buddy.
Yeah. Let's see here. So
good people at Dog Nation too. I don't want like people to actually see that.
I'm keeping my mouth shut on that. Yeah.
Right, Connor, I love you guys over there. You guys do good stuff. Blaylock catch and run. Frank DiCarlo says was maybe the best play of the game.
But almost
that was a good play. Yeah.
I think the play of the game has to end up being. I think it has to end up being a play from one of two guys who I thought were the players of the game. Kenny McIntosh, obviously, but Kamari Lassiter was awesome in this game.
Yeah,
with open field tackles, getting off of blocks, and Ringo had the positive stuff at one side too. Don't get me wrong, but like Lassiter has gotten better and better and better and better to a point that I think that's probably going to get a shout out from us on Film Don't Lie.
Michael Fowler says, play the game with Xavier Truss opening up that hole for K-Mac. He stood his guy up and didn't let go. There's a couple good offensive line run plays. Offensive line pass plays, I don't know. But there were a couple that I remember telling my wife, I was like, he has so much time back there. Unbelievable amount of time. There was no pressure on him on a few throws. And I think that throw that I was like, he has so much time back there, he threw it out of bounds, if I can remember correctly. And I don't remember if that was third down or second down or something, but
he did. But Paul, I want to say, with that much time, somebody's got to be open at some point. I mean, is he afraid to sling it to somebody and he threw it out of bounds? I just thought as much time as he had, somebody's going to break open, and it didn't happen, or maybe it did. We missed him. I don't know.
Yeah. David says our running backs didn't fumble tonight despite the cold. So there you go. That is a positive. I would have probably, if you said over under was 0.5 on fumbles, I'd probably go over. So there you go. Omari coming in strong. Our man Omari says Lassiter better than Ringo. I might agree with him.
Ringo, I think, is tough for fans in the sense that, like, man, how can you have certain penalties or how can you have certain coverages like when you're that degree of athlete? But then he comes back and has like clutch interceptions, and you're like, oh, I get it.
Well, he's a physical player, Dane. That's the way he plays the game.
Yeah, right? And Kirby said it multiple times, right? And we've questioned it, and he's backed up his corners, saying, "I put them on an island. These guys are on islands. They're one-on-one out there. Most of the time, they don't have safety help over the top. It's them, and especially Ringo. He's going up mainly most of the time against their best wide receiver of the other team. These guys are going one-on-one, and they're going to lose a rep. They're not going to go out there and be amazing for 70 plays. They're going to lose a rep.
There's an unsung hero in this team, and I'm just patting myself on the back because I want to say on one of these shows preseason, me and Paul had this argument. So I like winning these, and it's not Levis related, though we can go there if you'd like.
I think I know where you're going. Are you going to like a star position?
I'm going to Javon Bullard, and I think he's one of the unsung heroes of the team, both in coverage, but then also coming off the free rush sack. They're just a much better team when he plays and Tyke doesn't.
Yeah, he's
more physical than Tyke.
He's a lot more physical. Yeah. Michael Fowler says, any Branson Robinson sightings tonight? Not that I remember.
I saw him on the sideline one time.
Yeah, I did see him in terms of actual sightings, Jason. I saw him on the TV, but in terms of on the field, Michael, I did not. Another one, Frank DiCarlo, did Arian Smith play? And you guys see Smith?
He was a gunner on special teams.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see him on any offensive plays. And then Slump says, we got to find someone to take Chaz Chambliss's reps away. Hey, he plays hard, man. I think you saw a lot. I think you saw a lot from Jalen Walker, though.
Yeah.
Jalen Walker, he was in there on a play. Oh, come on, help me out.
Jalen Walker stood up and did the incomplete.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you didn't do anything for that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, if anything, that guy just didn't catch the ball. But
well, it was still incomplete. He was right.
I like the energy, but
I'm trying to think. There was a play. It was a screenplay where they went to the running back, Michael and Jalen, both
1-7 South Carolina. Sorry.
Oof.
Yeah.
Michael and Jalen both tackled the running back there. So 2 true freshmen on that tackle. I don't know if you guys remember that. They praised Michael and they showed Michael, but Jalen was there for the tackle as well.
If South Carolina beats Tennessee, it is, for multiple reasons, the absolute best thing that can happen to Georgia. Obviously, number one is it takes a rematch against Tennessee down the line out of play. Playing a team twice is always problematic. 2, it lengthens the Shane Beamer tenure at South Carolina. And Shane Beamer has 0 chance to ever beat Georgia in his career there. It's not even remotely close. It's going to be a blowout every time. It is personal with Kirby Smart.
Yes,
it's always going to be. He is going to take the spear and jab it through his heart every chance he gets. And there's so many pieces of evidence for that.
All right. So on that note, Dane, since you brought it up, are any of y'all afraid? Afraid's the wrong word. Are any of y'all nervous if we had to replay Tennessee in the playoffs or the national championship?
I think whenever you have a rematch, as Dane was alluding to, yeah, because not only are you studying film, but you have the film, you have the experience of the mistakes you made. I think you look at what Georgia was able to learn from last year's loss to Alabama, what it was able to correct, and what it was able to do in that rematch. I think even a better example of a Georgia rematch was Auburn in the 2017 SEC championship, when Auburn beat the crap out of them in the regular season, and then they were like, okay, we didn't do a good job running the ball because we didn't attack the edges the way we should have, and then you just saw all these edge runs and DeAndre Swift, Chubb, and Michelle doing their thing. So I especially with an offense like that where they did miss, it was either 3 or 4 deep balls. They only were able to find 3 or 4 deep guys, and Hooker missed all of them.
Yeah,
a rematch on a neutral field.
That's pressure up the middle, right?
But if the adjustments are real in this game, and I know Tennessee's offensive line did not play well that day. You just can't, Georgia's offensive line didn't play well against Alabama the first time, and then played much better the second time. Yeah. It's not like they're bums out there. They're good players. It's a good team, and I think you have to worry about those adjustments in a rematch like that. That said, top to bottom, Georgia still has the more complete team.
But I think if a rematch happens, it's the national championship game, right? They're not. However it shakes out, if Tennessee's in there, they're not going to put Georgia and Tennessee in round 1. It'll be the national championship.
I think it's incredibly unlikely Tennessee makes it.
Well, I agree with you, Dane. I'm just saying, if all hell breaks loose and Tennessee gets in there, it's not going to be Georgia, Tennessee round 1. It'll be,
which it almost did today. It almost did. It almost break
close. Yeah.
The top four. And that's the other thing that people are complaining about this game. And again, there's a difference between criticism and being angry and upset. And it's like, well, the other 3 top 4 teams struggled today against their teams. This happens.
The college football playoff is kind of backing itself into a crappy little corner here where their desire to have this TV show every week is really going to screw them. Because I think in the end of this, North Carolina's resume, if it beats Clemson in the ACC title, is going to be better than Tennessee's. But I don't think the college football playoff can justify, we had them 10 spots below Tennessee this whole time. 13. And then all of a sudden we changed our mind. They should just wait until the end, and that's your top 4.
They're 13th right now, which is crazy. I said that. I was like, look, you guys are kind of doubting this ACC winner. You have Clemson at 9. You have North Carolina at 13.
And both of the teams, Clemson and North Carolina, their losses to Notre Dame. Well, every single week, Notre Dame looks a little bit better now, don't they? Now imagine if they go beat USC, and that's a top 10 loss.
Your love for Freeman grows and grows, and that's just
not.
Yeah, I understand. I get it.
They are different. They're a much different team than they were in September.
No,
it's ridiculous how much better they are right now.
Wait till that man gets to recruit.
Guys, can I say this real quick? Totally off topic. How about those Florida Gators losing at home to the Vanderbilt Commodores.
How about Vandy though?
I mean, yeah.
Florida.
Kudos to them.
Yeah,
Huge.
they don't.
Tell you what, Clark Lee's not messing around right now. He's giving me James. He's giving me James Franklin vibes, where it's like, are you actually going to win at Vanderbilt? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
which means where's he going to go in 2 years? You know, here's Vanderbilt will be back at square one.
Here's the crazy part about it. That's funny.
I had to go make sure they actually did it because sometimes they chicken out on these things.
They put out the
final for Nashville. Yeah.
I'm about to do a Sesame Street meme of this. Hold on.
Here's another thing too. Vanderbilt, if South Carolina wins this game against Tennessee, could just be completely unmotivated, and Vandy wins next week and becomes bowl eligible. We're not talking about that. That's wild.
Yeah.
I want to bring on Anthony. So, Dane, you want to?
I want to slide out, but only after I tell you that I am running low on my.
Yeah, you are about that low too. There, Dane.
You see that?
It's close. Yeah, it's about there. Yeah.
Hold on, Dane. Before you do that, let me. You're beating me, Mr. Producer. Let me get this pulled up here. Let me present this.
I have been a professional broadcaster for a long time.
Yeah, I went to school for it, and then I realized they couldn't pay me enough, so I just didn't do it. But
and that's why I got out of local TV.
Yeah,
and made.
Here we go. Boom.
Yeah, that's
Tell us about it, Dane.
That's the Tire Fire, man. That's going to be a limited edition deal from ASW Distillery.
How do I get? I need to get some of this. What's going on?
Hey, Dane. Yeah. Remember I asked you about my local liquor store? They didn't have it, and how to do that. I went in there this week, and they had it.
Boom!
There you go.
Look at Eddie Ackworth. Let's go.
Here we go.
That makes me so happy. I'm going to tell my friends at ASW.
So, guys, ASW. 5 of the 6 creators of this beautiful bourbon and drinking stuff are Georgia grads. And also, you could join on Friday, November 25th for the 3rd release of this Tire Fire, bottled at cask strength, around 109 proof. And if you're there early enough, the master distiller, Justin Manglitz, will sign the first 100. That's pretty cool. So they're doing this on Friday, November 25th. So if you don't want to go shopping on Black Friday, instead go to ASW and get you a limited edition bourbon there. But Dane, what is up with this bourbon stuff? What is it?
Let me I want to tell you about the people behind it first, right? So my guy Chad there, they were a Bulldog 100 company, which means that like UGA founders, and they do really well in whatever sector that they're in, and then they get recognized by the University of Georgia for having done so. And I saw them on there, and I'm like, I have been buying your bourbon for like a couple of years now, and y'all naturally should be partners with UGAsports.com, because I promise you our audiences are the same people that consume our product and consume your product. So we need to just like get in bed together essentially. And then my guy Chad over there was like, you know what? You're right. And seeing how they supported the Atlanta Braves and came out with the Fiddler Bourbon for the Braves World Series Championship, that was even more like, yo, we got to be in tandem with these folks. And you see the line here, if it's gin or if it's bourbon or vodka, they just have something for everybody. And look, I don't endorse products that like I don't already use or would not use. That's just not my flow because, frankly, I don't have to. And this is stuff that I bought long before having done anything with UGAsports.com. Eddie can tell you it's legit. Like, it is good bourbon. And what I like is that it's at a price point that like you're not going to go bankrupt getting it. So like it's accessible to people, but it's still really, really good bourbon. And Georgia just beat Kentucky. So if you want a celebratory Georgia bourbon, boom, there you go.
Damn, I need this. Yeah, that was a good pitch. That was a good.
It was really good. That's why I let him do it. I've got two more pitches I've got to do on my own. I don't think they'll stand up to what Dane can do there.
Jason, let me know when you're back in Georgia because I know you're up in the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, I know.
You did say we'll get in bed with them. Michael Fowler said it's a family show, Dane, and then so
I mean, I cuddle up with this. Okay? No, I don't. Yeah. I would have a problem at that.
Platonic, right?
Yeah, maybe. Platonic. Yes, very platonic.
I'm getting out of here. Hey, thanks to who's down here, Anthony. Thanks to him for waiting so long because I talk a lot.
Have you not seen Anthony yet?
No, I've seen him before and he's awesome. But I'm saying I talk a lot and I've kept him backstage, and that makes me like self-conscious that I've been like a terrible person and not shared this space. So I'm going to do that now, and y'all have a good night.
Hey, Dane, you take it easy,
Thanks,
man. Dane Young right there, ladies and
Okay,
gentlemen. The man, the myth, the legend. He's out. Oh, man. I didn't even get to shout him out that much. He's gone.
No, you can do it.
Hey, Jason.
nice
Jason.
He's back, folks.
Do it. Say nice things.
No, Dane does a great job with that watch-along show for Jim Don and then the UGA Sports Live podcast on Tuesdays. So he does.
I'm going out with this.
Wait. Don't leave out Film Don't Lie.
Dane, I'm bang, bro.
Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Get out of
Foster
here.
wins.
See ya. As for another bang, bro, Anthony.
Wow, really?
Anthony,
Dude.
you gotta reconnect and put some headphones in. You're echoing bad, dude.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'll back out.
Yeah, he's echoing bad. Have you
Hey,
been on?
Jason,
been
but
on with-
I'm very
Yes, sir.
disappointed. There's no African paintings behind you to make me soothe.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I came downstairs to because I didn't want to sit in that room for 3 hours since I'm on here the whole time, and I wanted to make sure I had a TV. So I actually need to get up and get another beer in a minute.
I just find those
But
paintings
yeah,
so
but I
sweet.
actually have like the laptops in my lap, and but like I don't have a space like where I could put this on a desk and then still have a TV with games. So yeah, that's why you've got this instead
a
of
door and a wall and
door on the
stairs.
wall. Yeah, instead of like some funky African art from the 70s.
Let's see if we can add
Which
Anthony
I love,
back in.
by the way. I love
Yes, appreciate it.
Anthony, can you hear us?
You guys hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we
You
can
hear
hear you. Yeah, the
All right.
second part of the Brain Bros there with Dane. What's going on, Anthony?
Well, Brang Bros.
it. Looks
That's
like the
awesome.
headless horseman.
He does.
No,
he does.
I'm outside, man, because I got shitty reception. Sorry. I've got crappy
you go.
reception.
There you go. We're demonetized. We made it
Shut
51 minutes.
Look,
we
look.
made it 51 minutes.
Look, Roddy was like a Richard Pryor concert last week, and you guys didn't get demonetized. So I don't want to talk about it.
He was.
So look, Eddie called it right. Eddie used a post-game overreaction show. Eddie called it right. We could go 15-0, and the only thing that Georgia fans are going to think about is us beating Kentucky by 10 points. That, I get it. Stetson didn't have a great game. You go on the road, second straight week, and you run the ball down their throat. You want to shorten the game. They did what they did. And Kamari Lassiter, honestly, is our best corner right now. So.
I think so too, Anthony. You waited a long time to just give those quick talking points. How was the shrimp last week?
Fantastic. I didn't eat shrimp tonight. I didn't eat crab legs or anything tonight. I didn't eat steak tonight. I had chicken teriyaki. No, wait, what did I have tonight? I had chicken teriyaki tonight. So
Where do you
I
live?
sure.
I live in Oak Ridge, North Carolina.
Oh man, you're not close enough. I was going to say because as it stands right now, Eddie is going to owe me a nice steak dinner.
Wait a minute. What is it? What is it after tonight?
It's got to be under 40, right? I would think.
Well,
Has
it's close.
to. Has to.
You
Can
figure
somebody in the chat help me out with what's Georgia's points per game updated with tonight's points in it? That would be awesome.
It's under 40. It's like 38-7.
Yeah, it's under for sure. But hey, we still got to play Tech, bro.
Tech could
Yeah,
Tech could do a
be up to
number, though.
42. We should be up to 42.5 by then. So yeah.
Exactly.
And look, just so you guys know, the bourbon. My wife's a bourbon drinker. She normally drinks a company by the name of Blameson. We don't do free ads around here.
Oh yeah, no free ads. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So my wife, I got her a bottle of the fillers, and she won't let me drink it.
Nice.
Wow.
That's good. That's
No,
good. Oh, it's not good? Oh,
no,
my bad.
because
Okay.
I want to drink it.
Ah,
That's the
yeah, you're
Well,
right.
put on your
Yeah,
big boy pants and drink it. I mean, what are you waiting
Oh,
no.
Why?
I submitted. Eddie, I submitted years ago, man. I'm not jumping on that. She's from Dallas.
How
She
long,
came
how
out of
long
the
have you been married? How long you been married?
23, but I've known her for
I
35.
got you. I'm 30, brother, and I drink what I want.
Yeah,
I
that's
want to hear it.
look. She's born and raised in Dallas. She came out of the womb with Jack Daniels and a handgun. I don't mess with her.
So you're with Eddie here. Is there going to be any stage of grief, Anthony, after this,
No.
where you look back on this and you say, "Man, we could have done this better, that better"? Or are you just happy that the game's over? You're looking at Tennessee losing right now. You're high on life.
No, I wish we would have put a few more points on them. I knew that Kentucky was going to come out and play a little bit stronger tonight because of losing at Vandy. That was embarrassing. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what it would be like to lose to Vandy. I mean, I know it was 6 years ago, 7 years ago, but the fact that Vandy beat Kentucky and Florida in back-to-back weeks, that's pretty awesome for that program. But to go on the road for the second straight week to play a team that lost to Vandy, they were gonna, they're gonna play as hard as they possibly could, and they were gonna stop. They were not gonna give up deep shots. You can't throw the ball when it's sub 30 degrees, not deep. And you could talk about Will Levis throwing the ball all over the yard. He threw 5 and 6 yard passes. Most of their yardage was a lot in penalties, and they threw 3 30-plus yard passes the entire game.
Which is crazy. When was the last time Georgia gave up 3 passes over 30 yards in a game? They gave up a 31 yarder, a 42 yarder, and a 47 yarder in the air. That doesn't happen. So let's not act like that's a just something. That is something. I can't think of the last time that Georgia gave up 3 passes for that long. Eddie, Jason,
how many rushing yards did they give up today?
I think it was let's see here,
89.
89.
Yeah.
10 yards and they only had two rushes over 10 yards. A 10-yarder in the fourth quarter by Levis, and then a 15-yarder by Chris Rodriguez as well.
So Georgia still makes teams one-dimensional.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Guys, this was a cash for clunker game. That's what this was. It was a cash for whatever.
Good call.
I mean, that's what it was. I mean, Kirby, you could see it from the outset. He's like, he didn't care if we won this game. He could have won this game 3-0 and been happy. Seriously.
Yep.
He did not care.
You think so?
Yes.
100%.
Jason, you backing both of these guys?
Yeah, Kirby doesn't care about margin of victory.
Nope.
I mean, I care because I bet
Kirby cares about Jason. Jason, Kirby cares about what the opponent scores more than what we score.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you win, and I mean, it's like it's all the cliches, right? Which as sports writers and people who do this, like we try to stay away from. We hate, allegedly, but some of them are true. If you win and you keep winning and you don't lose, you have a chance to win a championship, and then a conference and then national championship. I mean, that's the goal. Like margin of victory is whatever. I go back to, I remember, I think it was 2002 when Ohio State won with Maurice Clarett. And I can remember that whole year, everybody was like, well, this team's not any good because they barely beat everybody. They would win games by 7 points or less every week.
So they're the new TCU? They're the old TCU?
Yeah, yes, they were TCU before TCU. But like their games were just stupid. They'd be like 20-17 or 17-14 and then they played Miami and everybody was like, oh, well, Miami's going to blow them out. And then they beat Miami. And it's like, okay, well, who cares how they won their games? They just won every game and won a national title. And
did they beat Miami though?
Well, yeah. I mean, come on. That interference call was.
Did they though?
I mean, the scoreboard, it's, they have the trophy.
Yeah.
So do we, by the way.
Yeah, so do we.
That is true.
I just feel that the way Kirby looks at the games is kind of the way that Monken said it in his press conference in the beginning of the year. Somebody asked him a question, and it was by one of those other cut rate media outlets that was mentioned earlier, that D-Bag Nation or whatever the hell they are. I don't even know.
Stop. We're friends with them.
No, we're not. No, those guys are absolute garbage, man. I don't care. They pander to the vague fan. I don't care. I don't care about those guys. Whatever.
Anthony said it, not us, guys. Go ahead,
Anthony. Todd Monken. Somebody asked something to Todd Monken. It was as like in your face that you could possibly say. Somebody said something is like, well, when you call games to win, yada yada yada. He goes, I don't call games. He goes, I don't put points on the board to win. I'm not paid to win games. I'm paid to score points. And that's what he said. And Kirby is kind of the whole CEO of the entire company. He says, as long as everybody does their job the way they're supposed to, and we win, I don't give a shit what we win by. If we smother a team, we give up 89 yards passing. 89 yards rushing. They're going to be one-dimensional, so we can run a different defense, and that means that they're in press mode. They're always pressing before the game is even close to being finished. Then the defense did their job. Now, did Todd Monken do his job? I think he did. Did Stetson do his job? Not realistically. No, he didn't.
I want to jump in here, so I want to ask you guys a question. Please. So Stetson Bennett, that throw to Darnell was overthrown.
Yep.
I don't know. Watching the replay, Darnell didn't look like he was running full speed. I don't know. It looked to me like Stetson though. The second one, that pick he threw. What was that? What is he doing there? I don't know. Those were two bad plays, and Stetson's got to clean that up, right, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, in the first couple of minutes of the show. To me, that play, I thought Gary Danielson's explanation was spot on. I mean,
which play?
Late.
Which play?
Yeah, did you say which play?
Yeah.
The one the lad.
Okay.
Where it looked like Ladd didn't think that he had the post because the safety was there, but then Stetson just went late and was like, "I'm just going to throw it up." And to me, just from watching it, it just seemed like it was kind of a forced opportunity. Like, we haven't had a big play. I'm going to try it and see if it works. But they weren't on the same page whatsoever. And you do put that on Stetson. Like that was his fault. And then the Darnell one was a miss. I mean, you're going to have misses, but they didn't really. I credit Kentucky. I mean, I think when you have a game where you are running the ball as effectively as Georgia was, and clearly you saw them. You saw that the game plan was they didn't want Georgia to have explosives and they wanted to shorten the game. And so I think there was some frustration there from from Stetson in terms of like, you don't have those plays open. And then, it's funny because it was after that play, you really saw them just commit to the ground game the rest of the way. That's working. They're not trying to stop it. They're not coming up. And if they do come up, then you can adjust and try to go deep. But
here's something for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Here's something. When do you think I need a quarter? I kind of gave it away. Maybe I didn't. I need a quarter and a time. When was Stetson's last pass?
Third quarter.
Okay, you got that right. How many minutes into the third quarter?
I have no idea.
5 minutes left. Five minutes left.
It was a third down, wasn't it?
No, it's third down. Yeah, no, it was a 1st and 8. He hit that third down to Dom for 35 yards. Then he went 3 yards again to Dom. Then after that, no more passing. So 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes of the game did not feature a single Stetson Bennett pass, and Georgia was still able to get out of Lexington 16-6. That's crazy to me.
But was that Kirby saying, forget it, I just want to run the ball?
Usually that's the head coach. Yeah.
So as effectively as we ran the ball tonight, was there any play action passes tonight?
I don't remember seeing many. I saw naked boots and stuff. I saw a couple boots, but
exactly. So Kirby didn't care. There was no play action because tonight was the perfect night to run play action. As effective as the running game. By the way, South Carolina just scored again. So
yeah, I saw that. 28-14. I appreciate everybody keeping us
trouble. Tennessee's in trouble. So
yeah. Appreciate everybody in chat keeping us up to date on that. But last pass from Stetson. Third quarter, 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You guys were right, man. Nobody really I'd say top 5. Well, look at it. Top 5 so far tonight has not played well today.
Yeah.
In the CFP.
And also this time of the year, I mean, like the bad teams in the first half of the season, they've all gotten better, and you're going to have games like this. I mean, it's just the way the sport is. It's you get into this time of year and you have conference games. You're going to get everybody's best, especially if you're one of the top teams in the nation.
And we're tired. This is a grind, right?
Dude,
I mean,
everybody's beat up right now.
Yes.
Hey, shout out to Jason Budd. His quick takes are kick ass, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
I love those, man. Those are awesome, dude. I don't I try to tell everybody to hit the like and stuff like that. Just like
Awesome.
the PAW, just like the PAW show.
Yeah, you missed it, Jason. So this is now called, instead of the POS show, it's called the PAW, Paul's Always Wrong show. Roddy came up with that. That was nice.
Yeah, no, I concur with that assessment.
Yeah, you missed that as well, Eddie. You haven't called in. But here's another thing for you guys. Maybe I can pull this up on the screen. I'll see. Let me know if you guys can see it in the chat, because sometimes it looks better on your screen than it does mine. These are the final stats. And what I'm bringing up here is Stetson's progressions over here on the right side. So behind the line of scrimmage, 7 of 7 for 48 yards. Short passes, which is 1 to 5 yards. Stetson was 4 of 5 for 20 yards. Mid-range passing, which is 5 of 14, between 5 and 14 yards. He was 4 of 7. And then when it goes to deep passing, 0 for 3. So just kind of shows you where Stetson's progressions are there. And we've seen this, and I would imagine if you put this up against Stetson's season numbers, if we had a season chart of this, it would look very much the same. The deep passing, he would have a couple more hits. But a lot of his passes are on that screen passing behind the line of scrimmage, and that's where Darnell Washington, to me, is – we don't talk about him enough. Because he's like having a 6 lineman out there, and I want to see the stats on how many snaps he played, but I would be surprised if he came off the field at all tonight. I mean, dude was everywhere and didn't even catch a reception. He is a team player. He's going to test extremely well in the combine. He's probably going to go late first round, I would imagine.
I think he's going to be a first rounder. I really do.
I mean, the guy's resume, it might not be in scoring. It's definitely not in scoring touchdowns, right, guys? It's not in catching passes, which he can do both of those things. But what he does, though, is he leads the way on pass plays, on run plays. And if you don't have Darnell Washington on this team, it might look completely different on offense. This guy he doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but damn if he isn't really, really good.
What I love about a player like Darnell, sorry, I'll interject here.
No, go ahead.
Is that he doesn't care. I mean, that was a touchdown. If Bennett lays the ball into his arms, he walks into the end zone. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what he loves to do? Block.
Yeah.
He just likes to blow people up. And that's not a stat. I mean, nobody's like, oh, look at that. That's incredible. What a great play. Nobody cares about that. We do. The combine does. Darnell is a beast. He doesn't ever say a word about I need more touches or I need more this or that. He just goes out there and plays hard.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like the epitome of a DGD, I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No. And I want to get you guys' thought on this. They always talk about who's the most indispensable player on both sides of the ball.
Oh.
You could say quarterback. You could say running back. You could say receiver. The most indispensable player on Georgia's offense right now is Darnell Washington.
I agree.
And that's mine. I don't know what you guys'
I can agree with that. I agree. Jason, right. Your thoughts?
I mean, that's a pretty big statement, but I mean, I can't really disagree with it. You know, I think that, and I've been saying for a long time that he needs to be playing. I mean, he needs to be more or featured more in the passing game.
Yes.
And you know, I say that, but hey, they're 11-0. So like, who am I to really critique them on that? But he does all the things that we don't really pay attention to in the moment because we're following the ball as the game's going on, and then you rewatch it, and then you see these plays that he makes as a blocker, and like, who was it that said he's like Paul? I think it was you. You were actually right about this. He's a 6 offensive lineman when he's on the field, and that is such a big deal for a running team. You know, when I think it's the Giants right now in the NFL, they is it the Giants that have these formations? They're like 7-8 offensive linemen at times for Saquon. And Georgia doesn't have to do anything stupid like that. You know, I don't mean that in a negative sense. They don't have to do anything crazy because they have a tight end who is almost the size of a tackle. And
there's a couple comments in here saying, you know what, Brock Bowers, and don't get me wrong, I think Brock is like 1B, but
yeah, exactly. Brock Bowers is the best playmaker on the team.
Absolutely.
But when you have Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers on the field at the same time, the defense doesn't know what they're going to do.
Right.
They don't know if they're going to run it. So they can bring the heavy package out and they just throw it. They can bring the light package out and they can run it. How do you let somebody that's 6'8", 270 yards or 70 pounds run past you as a defensive player?
I
mean,
guess
seriously.
you don't think the ball is going to him, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm saying. If you look at it, it physically shouldn't be possible for him to get a step on a premier athlete in a Division I.
He's he's a rare physical specimen, and we've all heard the analogy. It's like if LeBron played football. I mean, because he's physically built like LeBron, but he just happens.
And I
to
have
play
a Brock
tight end.
Bowers jersey. I have a Brock Bowers jersey. So whoever sent that compliment or sent that comment, and it says cyborg. It says cyborg on the back. It doesn't say Bowers. It says cyborg.
Yeah, Dr. Greg Steele seems to have a problem with what we're saying tonight. He says, "What 1B? This has turned into insanity. 0 is good, but come on, we're not talking about playmaking." Dr. Greg Steele.
Everything. It's everything.
You see what you go and look at the replays on most of these plays. Yes, Brock is indispensable, and none of us are saying he's not. You can't lose Brock. This team would be weird without him. But you go look at the replays and who's out there blocking in front of
displacing.
The space. Yeah. He's taken 2 guys with blocks, and Darnell on every replay, you're like, damn, there's Darnell again. You didn't see him. Maybe you didn't see him when the play was happening, but then that replay, you're like, there goes that man again.
The only thing I'll say about this is I wish they would just let Darnell go out in 2 yards and catch the ball and let him go. Or 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage, because when he catches the ball, he's so hard to bring down. So I think they need to target him more. That's the only thing I'll say about that.
He's going to fall forward 3 yards regardless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, tonight, Brock Bowers targeted 3 times, had 2 receptions for 10 yards. Yeah. And I'm sure his run blocking grade is going to be great too. But Darnell, I think in terms of, and we're really splitting hairs here, right? Because one guy does one thing and one does the other. But
yeah, they're totally different.
I think Darnell. I think Darnell is one of the best. John says that dude in the left has ripped 3 heaters in the last 5 minutes. Yeah, my boy Spano.
Right.
He puts them down. Okay, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, John. All right.
Don't worry about it, John. Robbie Dadson says, "Where's Roddy?" Also, Robbie, don't worry about it. No, Roddy is up in Lexington. He decided to go on the field.
I love you, John.
Yeah, he decided to go up on the field and freeze today, Robbie. So he will be back next week for the Georgia Tech game. I know this is a stupid question. I'm not even going to ask. I'm going to look it up. That Georgia Tech game, is it at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay. I guess that's a stupid question.
12 o'clock kick in Athens.
Yeah, noon kick in Athens. Michael Fowler says, ripping darts and speaking facts. He's got your back, Anthony.
That's my boy.
And then Robert over on Facebook says, love the smoking in the dark dude. LOL. See,
this is the only connection I get where I'm not echoing. Jeez.
Yeah, man. See, there's certain people. There's guys in the chat that we love, and there's guys that come on the show. So Eddie's one of them. Anthony's one of them. We've got so many that come on the show, guys, and they've become regulars and become friends with us. So like we rip jokes on them. But Anthony, we don't know, what he's up to tonight. You never know what Anthony's up to. You always know what Eddie's up to. Eddie's chilling. Eddie's, he's always low level. And then he might get into it a little once in a while. Anthony,
he's a gangster. Hey, look, don't get it twisted. He's a gangster, man.
Eddie's like the OG. Like he picks up the phone, makes one call, and then you don't know where your car is the next.
Look at that recliner he's got.
That's what I'm saying.
He's made some decisions in that recliner.
But
he's made some decisions in that recliner.
He's made some decisions. But see, then Anthony's the type of guy that he gets that phone call from Eddie, and then your car is also not there the next day. So
we don't talk about it, do we, Eddie? We don't talk about that, do we?
No. Hey, I want to interject here, and I'll ask Jason this question.
Yeah.
So, what do you think their philosophy is right now with AD Mitchell? Is it an injury? Is it a red shirt? What is going on with that?
I mean, if you read between the lines, it's he's probably. I mean, I wouldn't be optimistic about it, and I at least wouldn't be optimistic about it until after the SEC championship. I mean, I just don't
see
the
SEC championship.
I just don't. I mean, maybe for that game, but like, you would if he was getting close in the next 3 weeks. I think like this past week, he would have offered a little more optimism. It seems like every week he's asked about it, and Kirby is increasingly. So Kirby's not necessarily one to like. He avoids the injury question to a degree, but like when it's not bad, when he doesn't feel the need to try and hide, like he is a little more straightforward with that, if that makes any sense. So like if somebody's definitely coming back, or is close to coming back, he's usually forthcoming. But it's more so along the lines of when a guy is not coming back, he doesn't want to put that out there, at least too early. And you just keep the senses, and I don't have the inside on this at all, but just read between the lines, and it just doesn't. You don't get that the warm and fuzzies on him right now that he's close, and so I think they would want. The philosophy is I think they'd want him back ASAP if they could, but one way or the other.
Pickens last year, where he plays a couple plays against Tech to get his feet wet, and then he's off and running.
If he can play, he'll play. But you're just not getting that feeling right now. And obviously,
worse than a high ankle sprain. You think?
I mean, remember he came back and then he had to leave the game. So there was a potential for a re-injury, tweak, all that, or then you have practice too, and you just don't. We don't know. And Kirby definitely he doesn't divulge a lot of the details about injuries outside of the general area and if they are going to be available or not. And usually the first, I think with a guy like AD though, we have a good enough not just here but a good enough group of reporters that cover Georgia where if AD was going to play and Kirby didn't want to admit it would still get out. I think it would be on the dog vent the week of. There's just nothing right now that especially based on what Kirby's saying, to really get your hopes up at this moment. That's not to say that, it could turn, in the next few weeks. But I'm not optimistic for just based on what we know and have seen right now for the next 2 weeks.
So I'm not knocking the kid at all. Love AD. I mean, legend, great kid. Does he really make a difference at this point?
Well, not against Tech. I mean, they can, yeah.
Or LSU.
I'm talking about the SEC championship.
Yeah, I mean, against LSU, probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
how much time? How much time is there? I'm sorry to cut you out. How much time is there between the SEC championship and the first playoff game?
About a month, right? Because it's December 3rd. December 3rd and then New Year's Eve. So 28 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 weeks.
All right.
So, I mean, I think he has if he's not able to play in the SEC championship, there's no reason to play him against Tech if he's not, 90%. There's no reason.
How much of that he comes back? The timing. I mean, they haven't been playing together, right? I mean, the timing is completely off.
Well, you still get practices, in December. And he and Stetson had all of last year too. So, I mean, there are guys when you have chemistry, it's not too difficult to step back in. I think it would be an issue if this was last year and this was a situation where he had all his reps with JT and then Stetson became the quarterback and then he had to step back in with Stetson. I think that would be a bigger issue. Kind of like what you saw with Pickens, where when Pickens did come back for the playoffs,
he
Stetson
came back for
was
the Georgia Tech game last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he came back, played a couple plays, but I mean, to be a bigger focal point in the offense in the playoff. Yeah. Stetson wasn't really looking his way, even though he was clearly the best receiver on that roster.
Okay. I think you bring AD back, it changes the offense completely because we haven't. Yeah, I do. Okay. I really do, because you haven't seen that downfield, one-on-one guy. Like they tried to do it with Rosemary-Jacksaint. He's had a couple plays here and there, but there hasn't been that guy. They've had to rely on these screens so heavily and motions and things of that nature just to get the ball out and try to block downfield. So they
had Arian Smith. Arian Smith is a top off a defense guy.
But AD's more of like he does a little bit of everything though. Like he's a good blocker as a receiver. He can go one-on-one as we saw in the national championship. He's got a good feel for the back shoulder. He's not necessarily like a burner guy, but you have to pay attention, and that opens things up for Ladd in one-on-one coverage to where he can take the top off. I think Ladd being the number one outside receiver, you haven't really seen him, do much. He had a couple games where he had the Tennessee, he had the nice double move, but it's I think the game really opens up more for Ladd with AD. I think what those two guys do, they're different types of receivers. You really do see you see things open up more for this offense with AD back and just him being so complete, man. I really love the kid's game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Anthony? Him coming back, does he make a difference?
I think because Ladd is a really good route runner and he's got wheels, they only have to key in on one person.
Yeah.
Dylan Bell's still a freshman.
Yep.
Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint can get open, but he's more of a Michael Bennett type receiver, a possession receiver, which we need. We need to have that.
I like that.
He's a strong physical guy that'll block downfield now. But as far as a deep threat, if Ladd McConkey doesn't clear it and there's not, clear the path and Brock Bowers doesn't get wide open, we don't have another deep threat right now. And that's not knocking any of the guys. Those guys can run. They know what they're doing. But as far as getting on somebody's inside or outside hip, and if you're even, you're leaving. We don't have those guys right now. Ladd will put you to sleep.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. He's made really, really good football players look really, really bad. But if that's the only guy you have to worry about and Brock is on the same side of the field, then you just move everybody to that side for a deep threat. So I get what you're saying. I really do think if AD Mitchell comes back and can spread the field and you have an X and a Y, that really changes the game. But if Kirby knows if he's not 100%, he's not going to put him out there as a decoy.
No, especially not right now. No reason to against Tech, and LSU we'll see. I mean, I don't. If he's not again, I don't. Because even if you beat Tech and you lose to LSU, you're still in the playoff. I mean, I don't see a scenario where Georgia's not in the playoff. Yeah. So you don't. You really don't need Aaron. I mean, you don't need AD for that. Yeah.
Yep. Did Eddie go get more bourbon?
Yeah, he did. Went to go get some more drink.
Nice. Well, do you have anybody else in the chat that are trying to get in? I don't want to hog up time like Dane did.
Nah, man, you're good. If somebody else jumped in, I would kick you immediately, but I don't have
you
anybody.
Are a savage. I love you.
No. Here's score update. Eddie's back. 21-17 Georgia Tech over North Carolina with 9 minutes to go in the fourth.
Wait. You say Tech over North Carolina?
Yeah, 21-17 right now with 9 to go in the fourth.
Is Paul Johnson coaching?
He's not. He's not.
What?
Paul Johnson never scored 21 points.
Okay, so I know this is totally off topic. I talked to a Tech guy tonight, and his philosophy was bring in a triple option type coach because that's the only way Tech can succeed against Georgia, Auburn, Clemson, because we recruit different guys when they run a triple option type offense.
Who told you this?
A Tech fan.
That's the dumbest thing I've heard.
Not
Why
necessarily.
Is that, wait a minute. Why is that the dumbest thing you ever heard? How can Tech recruit against Georgia, Clemson, Auburn, everybody else around them unless they're recruiting different type of guys? It's not going to work.
There's plenty of players across the country that you can get.
Atlanta's a hotbed too.
I mean, look, if you bring in a good coach with a good personality, we've seen it at all these random places across the years where somebody comes in and next thing you know, they start getting guys, and it takes a couple of years, but they start getting recruits and they start getting players, or they're good coaches and they can develop players. You cannot win if you're not only the military academies based on style of offense that they have to play because you have a 4-year military commitment afterwards. You just have to play that style of offense there. If you go and play this triple option in today's day and age, you're going to be lucky to win 5 games a season. You're not recruiting good enough players to play. You're not recruiting good enough players to go against these top teams. Navy, Army, Air Force don't go against, Power 5 programs on a week in, week out basis. So
but I see what Eddie's talking about though. I do, because he understands. I mean, he's saying bring in that kind of offense because he knows they can't recruit against teams like this. They're not going to be able to get the players or the visibility or the amount of rank that they should get because they're not going to be as good as the Georgias, the Clemsons, even the North Carolinas, the Southeast, that little panhandle right there. I see what he's saying, though. I see what you're saying.
You're never going to get a top receiver because if a receiver wants to continue playing football,
when was the last time they had a top receiver?
You're still never going. Well, they were getting guys. They had Calvin Johnson, and then they had Demarius Thomas, and then they brought in that.
They weren't running triple option then.
I know, but they who was it? Chan Gailey brought in. He was the guy who got was it Gailey or O'Leary, whoever it was before Johnson. He was the guy who got Demarius Thomas, and then it was the year. Yeah, and then it was the year after that they went to the triple option.
Yeah.
And so they've never had a receiver since. They had even the Sims kid. Was the Sims kid? I think he might have even been a previous recruit who was a holdover. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but.
Yeah, but Jason, you say all that, Jason, and I appreciate what you're saying. That drove us crazy. Kirby had to prepare for that starting in June.
Yeah, and because
Paul Johnson won with that.
Yeah, but because of that, other teams do that, and then they'll never win 4 to 5 games. You know, they'll beat. I'm trying to think about like Boston College. They'll beat Boston College.
Paul Johnson did better than 4 to 5.
You know. I don't know.
He won 9 games twice in 3 years. So.
And he beat our ass a couple of times.
Our ass, or or just or the
game.
What game was it? 2014 was Georgia screwing that one up with the fumbles, and then 2016 was
lost.
2016 was not preparing properly for that offense, and then now it's Kirby's first year.
That's my point.
But 2008, yeah. But then after that, what'd they do? I mean, that game was never going to be competitive again against Georgia.
Well,
all right,
Kirby showed the blueprint.
Competitive now. Jeff Collins, I know he's gone, or Paul Johnson against Georgia next week.
Brent Key has a better chance of being more competitive than both those guys because I have not seen in recent memory.
Oh, I think you're nuts.
An assistant. No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the game's going to be competitive. I'm saying I haven't seen a coach. I haven't seen an assistant coach take over a team after a coach was fired and actually look competent the way that Tech has looked at times since the firing, because this was a joke of a team to start this year under Collins, and they don't look as bad.
My point is, if we had to face Paul Johnson in the triple option next week, that's bad for Georgia.
Bad.
No way. They would have been practicing for that all year.
No. And it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
And
I'm not saying we lose the game, Jason, but it's
Georgia would put up 6. It would be 63-10.
No bull crap.
That would be 63-10.
No,
because who's Tech going to have on defense? Because what defensive players want to go play on that team where they got to practice against that offense on a week-to-week basis?
Well, they're not practicing.
Not to mention the lack of exposure you get by playing on a team with that kind of offense.
I'm with Eddie on this.
Question.
Go ahead, Anthony. After Anthony, I'm going to speak my piece.
Please,
go ahead.
Please, real quick.
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say, Paul.
Here's the thing. When we have to play against a cut block team the week before an SEC championship, that puts every single defensive lineman in jeopardy before we even get there. And if you don't think that, if you do not think that is a real statistic, go back and look at it. If you have to play a cut block triple option team the week before a title game, you are putting yourself and your starters in jeopardy every single play, regardless of the score. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry, Jason.
No.
I like that Jason.
Opinions.
I like that Jason took this side of things because I think he's absolutely wrong. Because
Jason's always wrong. The Jaws show.
Yeah, the Jaws show.
No.
What you said, Jason, you kind of contradicted yourself, saying that Georgia would have to prepare for this offense from the beginning of week one. So that takes away 1 or 2 periods each practice where you have to prepare for this team.
But it hasn't hurt them.
Like the bye week. And in the bye week. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But when did it hurt them when they had to do this?
2014, 2016. I mean, we're
Under Kirby, under 2017 to now, or 2017 until Paul Johnson left. When did it hurt them preparing for this offense?
When did Paul Johnson leave?
Kirby made the blueprint
19,
after the
right?
2016 game. When Roquan Smith was sat in the back and they ran the I like an I formation in the backfield.
Yep.
And he showed the blueprint on how everybody that has real athletes that can play a defense against a triple option. But that still does not mean that you don't have to prepare for it.
That's exactly right. It takes away from something you could have been doing for that week, and you're preparing for Tech in November.
I mean, I get the argument of what you're saying, but I'm just looking at the results from the last 3 years that Paul Johnson was there, or was it 2 years? And Kirby demolished them.
Right, but the results doesn't mean that they didn't put the time in to do it.
And they still were competitive enough throughout the regular season to where it didn't affect them in any of those games. You know, they still – what was it? Because it would have been 18, they still made the SEC championship, and 19, they still made the SEC championship.
Yep.
Well,
So
18 was Paul Johnson's last year. 18
So
was Paul Johnson's
so 18. So it was 16, 17, 18. He lost in 16, so 2 years. Okay. So,
Right, 2 years.
17 and 18, they still made the SEC championship. And they should have beaten Bama in that SEC championship. I don't want to relive that. But I'm just saying they did those things, and you can say it's taking away.
Maybe they lost to
it?
Bama. Maybe they lost to Bama because they were taking their eyes off the ball and focusing.
Yeah.
on
Yeah, that's it.
Get him.
Didn't have anything to do with Rodrigo
Get him,
missing
Eddie.
a field goal. You know?
Get him, Eddie.
No, to this point, and we'll go on to a different point, but to this point, I kind of agree with it because Georgia Tech is never, unless they bring in Deion Sanders, right? That's I think
Go get a good coach.
I think realistically, I think that Jeremy Chadwell is going to be their next coach. It's the Coastal Carolina coach. That's the rumor,
Yep.
right?
And that's kind of a triple option type of deal he runs.
It's a different offense, right?
Yeah.
But
Very
I think
motion-based, very motion-based, yes.
yes, I think the only way that this team, Georgia Tech, saves itself, the trade school up north saves itself, is if you were to bring in either a triple option or like a funky type offense called Chadwell, or you bring in Deion, who can come in and recruit the state of Georgia. You put a ton of NIL into it, and you try it that way. Because if not, this team's going to be irrelevant. And to Eddie's point, Eddie's friend's point, talking about, does Georgia Tech need to go back to triple option? They need to do something, because being a regular football team doesn't do anything.
It's not being a regular football team. It's being a lousy football team with an idiot coach. That's what they did. They should have never hired Jeff Collins. He was a terrible fit from day one because he wasn't good. And there was nothing on his resume that screamed that he should have been a coach at a Power 5 program.
I don't disagree with you. What's happened now, though, is that program's now been pushed back instead of 1 or 2 years. It's been pushed back 5. So now they've got to
do that job. Who wants it?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, who wants
any up and coming coach at the FCS. I mean, I'm sorry, not the FCS. The Group of 5 level who can go to the Power 5 and want that challenge, they would want it, sure. But you're not getting a Deion Sanders would actually probably want that job. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he does.
You don't think so?
No.
Nope.
They went and threw a bunch of money at him. You don't think he'd want the challenge of going to Atlanta?
Yeah, go to Atlanta.
Go to Atlanta where he has a game against Kirby Smart every single year,
and he gets to go against FSU, who didn't hire him.
So if all right, let's say
good.
Good point. Deion comes on board, the players go with him.
Oh, absolutely. His son does.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter does. Yeah, I mean, all those.
That's big. Yeah. That's big right there. If that happens.
You think Deion really told Travis Hunter, "Hey, man, you're going to be here for 3 years in Jackson, Mississippi, and then you're going to go to the NFL"? No, he told him, "Hey, come here with me for a year. I'm going to find another job, a P5 job somewhere, and then you'll just transfer with me there. You're not going to be in Jackson, Mississippi for 3 years, Travis Hunter."
All right, now are you going by the fact that Deion's a great coach or Deion's a big name?
I'm going by Deion is a big name who his kids buy into, and he can bring in coordinators to actually run the defense and offense. But he is a CEO and a really good CEO at it, and his kids buy into him. So
and he's recruiting really well at a historically black college in the FCS.
I'm just asking.
He infuses excitement from day one.
Yeah, and I know this is a Georgia show, guys, but bear with us as we rant about this because I like it. What Georgia Tech needs is they're the next opponent. We'll be talking about next week. We'll probably be talking about, like Anthony said, or Jason said, a blowout, 63-10, something crazy next week. That's what Eddie needs. Yeah, Eddie needs about 63. Yeah, Eddie needs about 63 points to not give me a steak. But
10 points.
Yeah, maybe they
Georgia
score 10
Tech's
points.
Gonna send. They better not, because Vanderbilt hasn't scored any points on us in the last 2 years, and neither has Georgia Tech.
But here's the thing. What I'm getting at is Georgia Tech, for them to be relevant, needs an infuse of talent, and they need an infuse of money. And I don't think you going out, like Jason said, going out and getting a group of 5 coach like Chadwell, who it seems to be all signs pointing to that, is the right move, going to get just another random coach. You go get Dion, who's such a polarizing figure, but he has popularity. He, like Jason said, he's brought his recruiting class on Rivals last year was ridiculous. It was unreal for Jackson State. You go get him, and then you go from there. And that makes that game more competitive, because right now, the end of the season game against Tech, might as well just be cut off for all of the new millennial people, because this game doesn't matter anymore. So,
Tennessee's in trouble, guys.
Are they?
Brandon Turner just hurt. 28-17, South Carolina.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
South Carolina's moving the ball too, yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
Hey, at least they were number 1 for 5 days.
Yeah,
in
5 days.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Look at them guns. Bingo. All right, I'm gonna get out of here because I'm
All right,
freezing
Anthony.
my balls off. So
See you, man.
Take care.
I love you guys. Hey, everybody hit the like and subscribe. Eddie, you're the man. Remember, Godfather. Eddie the Godfather. Say it from now on. Jason Butt, you're the best, guys. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Take care.
I'll stay as long as y'all want. I can bow out if you need me to.
No, you're good, man. You're good. I think we might let's go around the SEC. We'll kind of do a recap of Georgia, and then we'll get out of here. So around the SEC today, let me pull it up. Before we do that, I've got a couple sponsors I've got to do real quick. Not that I have to do, but I want to do them because they're good people. So first off, guys, Eddie knows about this brand. Jason knows about this brand. It's the 76.com, guys. 76.com is the premier spot to get all of your Georgia apparel. It's created by dog fans for dog fans. I'm trying to find the overlay here. There's the overlay for you guys.
The Boom shirt is so great. Boom.
Yeah, you got a Boom shirt right there. Together shirt. I've got this one waiting for the Tech week, so that'll be my shirt for next week. To hell with Tech. I've got this awesome hoodie here that we got from the 7-6 with their 3 stripes. That's their design. They've got the hats. So just a really good company, guys. If you use code POS22, it'll get you 20% off your order. If you want to buy some shirts for your loved ones for Christmas, go ahead and put that order in now. You can go ahead and get it before Christmas, and code POS22 gets you 20% off.
Oh, touchdown, South Carolina. Sorry.
Oh, boy.
35 before the half.
35-17.
And don't worry, Chance would love that you interrupted the 7-6 ad with Tennessee losing, because he's from Tennessee and he hates Tennessee more than anybody else I know. So I'm sure he would love the interjection into the ad. But guys, in all seriousness, the 76.com is the place to go to get your Georgia apparel. Michael Fowler said, you got to stop flexing. His wife's watching, Eddie. Please put the guns up.
What old man? Come on. That's ridiculous.
Put the guns up, bro. As we travel around, as we do every week, let's travel around the SEC, which didn't play hardly anybody this week.
Well, Alabama won. They beat Austin Peay. Come on. That's huge.
Why do they do this? The SEC does this in week 12, where they play these crap teams. So to give you example, you have South Carolina.
It's because it's rivalry week the week after. So, Georgia used to do that. They used to usually get like a Charleston Southern or Georgia Southern, or when they were FCS, or a game like that. But for whatever reason this year they didn't have that opportunity.
So you have this week. You have South Carolina, Tennessee. You have Arkansas and Ole Miss, which Arkansas right now in the second quarter is up 21-3 on Ole Miss, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. KJ Jefferson's back for Arkansas, so that makes a huge difference for Sam Pittman over there. Missouri brought in New Mexico State. They're up 21-0. What a riveting game that is. Then you've got LSU with UAB. What a fun game that is. Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama versus Austin Peay. Whew, man. And that was, whoa. Mississippi State brought in East Tennessee State. They're the Buccaneers, folks, if you don't know. 56-7. Eddie, your screen froze there, and it looks like your eyes were going out of your head, but good to see you back. Texas A&M 20-3 against UMass. What a fun one.
I kept seeing a lot of tweets about that game. A&M fans are pissed.
They are.
They are pissed.
Auburn finally pulled away. They were tied at the half with Western Kentucky. They finally pulled away and won 41-17. But yeah, Texas A&M guys. Speaking of go around the SEC, you think they're ready? You think they've got $86 million ready for Jimbo?
No, they don't. They're going to have to ride it out for at least another year.
Jeez.
Okay. Here's the other question, Eddie. Do you go ahead and just self-report all the recruiting infractions so you can then fire Fisher for cause?
Well, yeah. I mean, they should.
You just go ahead and self-inflict. You self-report all the recruiting violations that potentially happened. We don't know if they did or did not. I'm not the one to say that. But you go ahead and report those, and then you can fire Jimbo for cause. $86 million.
I have never understood the Jimbo Fisher love. I've never understood it. It's just,
if you go look at his stats, Eddie, without Jameis Winston, he's not great.
It's 1 year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just
or 2 years. Yeah, one year with the title, and the other year they got to the playoffs, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I mean, hey, you know what? That's a them problem, not us.
Yeah. Yeah. And Michael Fowler says if that happens, the transfer portal will be bonkers. I think the transfer portal, regardless,
coming started, hadn't it?
Yeah. The exodus.
Who's the recruit that just decommitted, Jason? The number one recruit that just decommitted from Texas A&M?
Was it I think some people were saying Walter Nolan.
Nolan.
I don't think
Walter Nolan.
I think that came from a fake source. I don't think it's official because.
Oh, it's not official. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised to see him leave at all. I mean, the mass exodus from Texas A&M guys at the end of this year is going to be unreal.
So if that happens, guys, does Kirby tap into that, or does he? Because let's be honest, he has touted the fact that we've done no transfers this year. These are our guys. These are the guys that buy into the program. But if you got guys that decommit like Walter Nolan, who was kind of leaning Georgia at one time, right, Jason? I mean, Georgia was in the mix. If he decommits, does Kirby go back this year and say, hey, let's look into the portal and try to get some of these guys?
Well, that's the whole reason you keep good relationships with with those players you recruit. You don't burn them when they commit elsewhere because you never know when they might need to come, you might have a chance to get them to come back to your program. And you've seen that with a lot of these big programs over the years. And I know that's happened to Georgia too. Demetrius Robertson is a really good example of that. Eric Gilbert. Yeah. Guys who went elsewhere and it didn't work out. And then Kirby was like, well, still got a spot for you if you want to come back.
Yeah, but my point is Kirby's kind of taken this philosophy that we don't need the transfer portal. We got guys that we built up in this program, and we've done none of that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have to last year because the team was still strong. I mean, I think it's more of Georgia's in a really good place where they don't have to rely on it. It's not a necessity. It's kind of a luxury.
He's not going to poo-poo it. He'll use it if he needs to.
He'll use it, absolutely. If it can make his team better, he'll use it. But Georgia's in a position where they can be more selective. And I think when you look at the defensive line, when you lose Jalen Carter after this year, it's not like last year where you're like, well, we don't need a guy there. We can, let's continue to develop guys, whatever. And our scholarship count is still high. I mean, if you get a guy like Walter Nolan in the transfer portal, why not?
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Walter Nolan is a name to watch. LT Overton, he was that Milton product that went out early and is at A&M. I mean, if there is a mass exodus, Smoke Bowie's another one who Georgia was on heavily. He was recruited. I mean, he was committed for a long time. There's a lot of guys that A&M got this year that Georgia didn't. And from what I've heard, Georgia was like, look, we kept the relationship with them. And if they want to, we'll see them in the portal. We don't have to pay them up front. We'll see them in the portal. So, you go that way for that. Speaking of portal, Spencer Rattler right now going into halftime, 35-17 over Tennessee. My man's got 249 yards and 4 tutties against Tennessee before the half. This one's going to be a fun one to watch. Because it's going into halftime. Tennessee's down 18. Does Tennessee come back? Yes or no, both of you? And also in the chat, does Tennessee win this game?
Oh, Tennessee comes back and wins because they're the greatest team since LSU in 2000.
They did just score a touchdown here.
Yeah, they're the greatest team since 2019 LSU.
I never did understand that comparison, especially it was really coming up the week they were playing Georgia, and it's like Jamar Chase was – they must have forgotten how good and how great Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were, and Hendon Hooker and those two receivers, for as good as they are at the college level, they are not those guys.
LSU played defense, Jason.
Tennessee does not. That's it. But even then, I mean, LSU, good defense, but I mean, not to the level of the Georgia defenses the last 2 years.
Yeah, but
that offense was just spectacular, and right. I think that like with the benefit of I guess it being 3 years removed or whatever it's been, people forget just how good they were. I mean, look at what Burrow and Chase are doing in the NFL right now. Those guys are high class players, and Tennessee, for as good as they were leading up to the Georgia game, still they did not compare whatsoever in terms of NFL quality talent on this roster.
So for this game right here, it's 35-24. I'm assuming that's what's going to be at halftime. It's 12 seconds left. Does Tennessee come back and win it? Yes or no, Eddie?
Yeah, I think they do.
Jason, yes or no?
I want to say no, but probably yes.
Yeah, I want to say no because I hate them, but they will.
Michael Clayton says Tennessee does come back to win, he thinks. Yeah. Man, as we go around the SEC, Ty brings up a great talking point here. Ty 2 times says, do y'all think UF's loss to Vandy erases any positives for Napier's first season? Eddie, I'll start with you, and then we'll go around the horn.
Duh. He lost to Vandy at home. Well, of course it does. I mean, is that rhetorical?
Eddie, you're forgetting. You're forgetting Kirby's first year. Happened to him.
It did, Eddie. It damn sure did.
That's actually a good point, Jason. You're right. But I mean, it's Florida. They're a dumpster fire. Come on.
I don't know, man. He's recruiting at a fairly decent level down there. I was a fan of the hire. I was. I thought Billy Napier, all these group of 5 coaches, come out and they're touted as the next such and such. I think Billy Napier is like genuine. I really like him for him being Florida's head coach. I know people are going to hate that, but I like him. I like his personality. He seems like a really good recruiter. And like Jason said, Kirby did lose to Vandy his first year too. I don't know if, I don't know if this dampers their recruiting at all, because he's done a really good job of like getting some high quality guys in his first recruiting class being the head coach. But I do think it dampers some of that, hey, we're up and coming. You're now having to switch that recruiting pitch to, hey, we need you to be up and coming.
Right.
So go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say that's totally it. You say we need you more than ever. And being that it's his first season, you can get away with that. If this was happening in year 3, then we don't want anything to do with you at this point. But like, what other positives are there from Florida's first season? I guess they beat Utah, and that's kind of the high note, week 1. But because I think with Georgia in Kirby's first year, they went 8-5. There was still some moments where you felt like, okay, well, you got the adjustment period and you're moving on from the Mark Richt era. You didn't have the depth at a lot of the spots, but you still felt good. And you ended on a high note, not because you ended up winning the Liberty Bowl, but because you had Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and Lorenzo Carter and Davin Bellamy announcing that they were coming back for another year. And, that moment proved to be probably more important than anything. And Florida hasn't had kind of that seminal moment where you're just like, okay, well, there's hope. And that's not to say that Billy Napier can't do it, but they haven't had that yet. And so that's kind of where things stand. Vanderbilt, though, right now, but the thing is, this Vanderbilt team that beat Florida today is better than the Vanderbilt team that beat Georgia. Granted, the best player on that field that day was Zach Cunningham.
That was a bad dude. That was a bad man.
Like the fact that Zach Cunningham came out of Vanderbilt is astonishing. Like that kid could have played anywhere. And but this Vanderbilt team right now is they have a case for being like kind of that up and coming thorn. Not a 9-10 win season type team, but a consistent 6-7 win team that's like just giving people fits because they play tough and they play the right way. I think Clark Lee's doing a good job and trying to establish a different culture there that somehow got worse under Derek Mason. But kudos to Clark Lee for getting these back-to-back wins.
The problem I have with Napier is that I despise Florida with every fiber of my being. I hate him so much, and he's not a clown. He's actually
not. Yeah, he's like a decent dude.
Yeah, he's a decent guy, and that makes it hard for me because the previous regime was a clown. He wore Darth Vader mask and talked all that smack, and I hated it. And we just wanted to bury them. And I still hate Florida, but I'm kind of like, Napier's not that bad.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not a villain. He's not hateable.
He's not a villain. That's exactly right.
Breaking news. Georgia Tech 21, North Carolina 17 is the final score in Chapel Hill.
What?
I lost that.
Kidding me?
I bet on Carolina to cover too. That's bad.
Georgia Tech. Breaking news. Georgia Tech will now be coming to Athens to become bowl eligible.
Oh my gosh! What happened
This
to Drake
game means
May?
something to those Tech players,
Drake
guys.
May was going to win the Heisman this weekend.
I thought he was too. Drake May went 16 of 30, 202 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
It's that kind of week. It's that kind of week. I mean, all hell is broken loose, and but it's crazy because this is the week that it looked like it could be upset after upset, and the top 4 have held. All 4 got crazy challenges, but then North Carolina. We were at the beginning of the show 2 hours ago. We were talking about how Dane brought up North Carolina, having the resume, to potentially be the top 4 team in the playoff. They were winning 17-0. They were winning 17-0.
Oh my God, they were.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to crush them. I was like, well, this is an easy cash.
All right,
I'm going to cash this bet.
Does Tech keep Brent Key as the coach now?
I think you might have to, man.
I'm telling you, man. Like they are night and day from where they were with Collins. And remember how this summer Paul was always like, man, Jason hates Jeff Collins. It's like, I don't hate Jeff Collins. I'm just calling it how I see it. Like, that guy is a total doofus. He's a total clown. And I mean, you're seeing it. You're seeing a guy who nobody would have ever thought that Brent Key would put this kind of turnaround for how bad they looked early in the year.
Holy cow.
Wow. So Tech will come to Athens in the attempt to be bowl eligible. If that doesn't add a little bit of extra, umph for them coming for that noon kick after Thanksgiving, if they win, not only do they knock off Georgia, but they then get to go bowling as well. So not saying that has any relevance to what that game's actually going to turn out to be, but it's a good talking point for Tech to come to Athens.
But also it, hey, this is the number 1 team in the country. You can have a chance to knock them out of the playoff because if you beat them and then they lose to LSU, if they lose, you'd be the first step, and then they lose to LSU. then they're out. So you have that. Yeah. No, if
Jason,
Georgia loses and wins the SEC championship, they're in.
Yeah, Jason. Guess what? That's not happening.
They're not losing. No, that's the pitch. But Georgia's not losing the title.
Right. Before we wrap up, guys, I told you I was going to give you the Tech Georgia betting line, and I told Jason. I said, Jason asked me for it. I said, Jason, let's wait till this game's over. And look what happened. So I'm going to go. It's going to open at 29.5.
Okay.
You want to put one in, Jason? I'm really good at this.
No, I like where that's at. 29.5 is a good opening line, especially coming off a North Carolina win. Although I don't know if Vegas is going to necessarily take the win into account, just because they have their own formulas and whatever magic that they do out there to decide what a line is going to be. But 29.5 is good. Yeah, I like it.
You heard it here first. 29.5. But wrapping up the game, 16-6. Georgia got in, got out of Lexington. It was a quick CBS game, guys. I loved it.
It's like high school, man.
Yeah, first half was under an hour.
You talked about 3 possessions.
High school. Can I go off real quick? Did y'all see the Buford-Walton game last night?
Yeah, Buford
phenomenal
lost.
Game, and Buford finally got upset. That was incredible.
Well, Buford's a 7A school now, so they're going up against the best of the best. So, that was an amazing high school game.
Amazing game.
16-6 though for Georgia. This was a not so amazing game. There was a lot of things that went wrong, but at the same time, Georgia could run at will. Smile Munden led the team with 11 tackles. Dumas Johnson was right behind with 8.
Hey, that's Malachi 2 games in a row, isn't it? That's 2 games in a row. Yeah.
Malachi Starks had 8 tackles, 6 being solo tackles. That's pretty big. Chris Smith had 7 tackles. Then you had Stackhouse with a tackle for loss. We had a half sack given to Bullard and Robert Beal there. So you got 1 sack in this game. You should have had 2 with Michael, but you had the hands to the face by Robert Beal. Yeah, so Michael should have got another sack there. But you could move the ball whenever you wanted to on the offensive side of the ball in terms of rushing. You stopped throwing the ball literally with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. So, you didn't have to throw the ball, and you got out of Lexington. They're probably close to being back home now. It's 9:00 here on the East Coast. They're probably close to being back into town, and they get to go hang out in downtown Athens. So, it's a fun time.
Jason, no DUIs. No DUIs after that.
No. That's all been taken care of now. There's none of that anymore. Jason,
from one of your better DBs,
Yeah. Jason, what's your final thoughts here as we close out the POS? Georgia, Kentucky.
Look, it was 16-0, and Georgia is 1 yard away from making it a 3-score game, deflating Kentucky, crushing any momentum. I fully believe that it would have had the appearance of a more lopsided outcome had they punched the ball into the end zone. And then it didn't. And I think, honestly, at the end of the day, for as sluggish and as bad as the offense, and I don't want to say bad, it's all relevant. That's all relative. But for as sluggish and as disappointing as the offense was today, I think the fact that they were still able to withstand the Kentucky rally, they won today in a different manner than they had all season. Ultimately, the most important thing for this Georgia program is they're 11-0 going into Georgia Tech. They're only the 3rd team in conference history to post back-to-back winning or undefeated slates in SEC play. I think there's a lot to say, a lot of positives in that regard to say about this team, as opposed to harping on some of the negatives of the performance of the offense. So, really, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, we can kind of criticize and just kind of talk about the negatives, but at the end of the day, who cares? The bigger picture is still available. It's, you win next week, you're in the playoff, and that's the most important aspect for this team at the moment.
Eddie, final thoughts from you, my man.
So I'll just repeat it. When we win the national championship again, I'm going to look back on this Kentucky game and say, oh my God, we only won 16-6. What a disaster. The national championship was not as meaningful because we didn't play well against Kentucky.
You know what, Eddie?
Who cares?
Eddie, you know what's funny though? This game matters for one thing.
Yeah, I know. Your steak.
Yep, my steak, baby, because Georgia's not getting to 40 points per game. That is
What's the average? What's the average?
I don't know. Nobody hit me.
Hold on, we're gonna figure that out real
You're
quick.
gonna average it real quick, Jason.
Yeah. Because I could see Georgia putting up 63 next week.
Yeah, we need to know. We need to know,
Rinky-Dink.
Eddie. We need to know how many points you need next week. We need to know that before we get off here.
Hold on.
I'll figure it out and text you.
Yeah.
So they were 40.6 going into last week. Let's see what we are now.
Last week, yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, you're Eddie. I think you're done. You're gonna need you're gonna need 50. I don't think Kirby's doing it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think Kirby's doing it.
Oh, dude, he would love to. He hates Tech. He would love to put up 50.
Yeah.
Kirby,
it's gonna be a Waffle House steak for you, Paul. Can't wait.
No. The like Ty said he's taking the under on whatever it is because Kirby wants these last two games, Kentucky and Georgia Tech, to be the fastest two games to get him to Atlanta. And he did. I mean, hell, this game.
He is not coaching. I'm sorry, he is not coaching that way.
Blinked my eyes and it was halftime. I was like, wow. And this is
that was more Kentucky. That was more than Kentucky than
I know.
than Georgia.
But I'm saying he didn't stop it. He didn't stop it.
Okay, give me some numbers, we got Jason. We got it. You're at 38.4.
Oh, damn it.
38.4. So what does he need?
Oh, geez, man, I'm not that good at math.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot of math.
Yeah. You're probably going to need, I would think. So you got 11 games. Yeah, you're going to need like 50.
It's going to be 60.
Yeah, you need like 50. It's done. It's done. Trevor said Kirby's speed running through the last few games. Like you do in video games.
I mean, sure, but like he would against Tech, I'm sure he would rather the offense go out on 5 possessions, put up 35, and then they just start running the ball. You know,
that's what I'm saying. 35 still doesn't get Eddie home, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Can I call bullshit on all this because Kirby's just running the ball? It's not fair.
Hey, call Kirby. Call Kirby.
Weather, all that.
Maybe he'll pay for the steak. But it sounds like you're going to have to. Guys, we appreciate you so much. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say it's got to hit 40. It can't be rounded up. It's not 39.5, right?
Yeah, no.
Got to hit 40.
Got to hit 40. Got to hit 40. Guys said under 40. But guys, we appreciate you sticking around with us. This podcast will be uploaded to where you get your podcast. So Apple, Spotify, Podbean, and then the whole replay will be on the YouTube as well as UJSports.com. I appreciate Jason Butt for joining in and helping me out with Roddy being gone. Eddie stayed on with us for a while. You know, Eddie from Ackworth, go give him a follow on Twitter. He's a fun guy. We had Anthony on. We had Laser on earlier. And just had a good old time. Guys, before you leave, I would love it if you could like this video. It helps us out a ton with algorithms, and then it also helps bring in other people, other characters onto the comments and things like that. So, guys, with that being said, I appreciate you so much. And go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We'll see you next week for Georgia Tech, and we'll see what happens.
Go Dogs.
Yeah.
Happening.